Welcome back, guys, to some more West Ham related content. And in this video, I'm going to break down how I believe West Ham will pick up the 3 points and beat Watford tomorrow evening. I think this game is going to be a pretty cagey affair. A win for either side pretty much confirms Premier League safety as long as Aston Villa do not pick up any points against Everton tonight. But before we get into all the key battles on the pitch, who's going to out-battle who, where is the game going to be won in those key areas, I want to talk about the starting 11. Starting with the back five, and it pretty much picks itself at the moment, not due to the actual how well they're playing, just because of the fact that we do not have much quality. So even when this back five actually do have a bad game, which is actually more often than they actually do have a good game, the next game you would expect to see the following back five, and that is Fredericks at right back, Ogbonna and Diop at centre back, of course Fabianski in goal, and Cresswell left back. And that is how I expect us to shape up against Watford, a back four. And my area of concern here is two positions, and that is the left back position in Cresswell and Diop, and I'm going to explain why. So firstly, let's start off with Aaron Cresswell. Aaron Cresswell is going to be facing Sarr, the guy who scored, pretty much sent Liverpool's dreams of being invincible down the drain. And what does he have in abundance? Pace. And Cresswell struggles with pace. You see it against Adama Traore. As soon as Adama Traore come on the pitch with the first game against West Ham after the restart, you see Adama Traore isolated Cresswell and he exposed him for his pace, and that's where the goals come from. Both of Wolves' goals come from Cresswell's side. However, Diop is another one where he sort of gives me concern due to the fact that he does tend to struggle in physical battles. When he comes up against someone who may be a little bit more superior against him in strength-wise and sort of just being a general athlete, he does tend to struggle. And this showed against Burnley in our last home game when Chris Wood when he come on the pitch and we lost 1-0, he sort of isolated himself to Diop, and as you can see, he started running the channels, he started getting the ball into his chest, and Diop really does struggle against those kind of players. He does probably prefer those little nippy ones, that he could sort of almost bully, right? Try and get them on their first touch. But when it comes to more physical strikers like Troy Deeney, like Chris Wood, he does tend to struggle. So they are two areas of concern. Moving into the midfield battle, guys, this is where I firmly believe the game will be won and lost between West Ham and Watford. We're going to be starting with Mark Noble, Thomas Soucek and Declan Rice at the pivot. And I believe David Moyes will play the same midfield that beat Norwich 4-0. And Declan Rice, Mark Noble and Thomas Soucek have very important jobs if we are going to come out on top. Because if we don't come out on top in midfield, I do believe Watford, with the players such as Will Hughes, Doucouré and Etienne Capoue, they've got enough quality in that midfield that can impose us a very dangerous threat. And Declan Rice's main job is he's got to stop the supply that goes from the midfield into Troy Deeney's feet. I spoke previously about how Troy Deeney might isolate himself with Issa Diop, and what we've got to do, Declan Rice has got to be that screen. He's got to be going left and right, stopping that supply that goes into Troy Deeney. And if we can stop that, then Watford won't have the time to sort of build up possession in our own third, play it into Deeney's feet, because Deeney's a big guy. He's going to back off, he's going to lean into Diop, and he's going to play it out wide. And if Declan Rice can stop that supply, but he's also got to be careful of the fact that Doucouré loves those late runs. We have Thomas Soucek, who does exactly the same job in our midfield. He loves those late runs, getting into the box, and Doucouré is going to be doing exactly that for Watford. And another important job on the pitch, and that is after coming from a good performance against Norwich, I must say. I know Norwich are not the greatest, and they were absolutely crap, but Mark Noble did have a good game. Credit where credit is due. And I don't believe he should be starting every week, but he played really well last week, so I would say that he should start this game. And we need to match him up in midfield. However, Mark Noble has got a very important job because he's got to be the one that goes out and engages Sarr when Sarr is sort of trying to isolate himself with Cresswell. And if Mark Noble doesn't do that job where he's sort of pushing out, doubling up with Cresswell on Sarr could have an absolute field day. We saw it against Wolves. Traore, I know Traore sort of like he's an exemption, he's a big specimen, and we tried doubling him up with Fornals and Cresswell, and he just absolutely bullied both. Sarr isn't as much as a physical presence. He is still very quick, so it is still important that Mark Noble goes out and engages. And if we can sort of do that, if we can stop the supply line to Deeney with Rice, if Soucek can go and support the striker, go and support Antonio, he's normally the furthest one forward. If he can do that, and Mark Noble just sort of shuffling, still supporting plays, because he's a very good technical player, still supporting plays when he can, but his main job, can he get out to Cresswell? Can he help Cresswell to stop start? And if we can win that midfield battle, I do firmly believe we'll win this game. Now, let's talk about the front three that I believe will start, and that is going to be the same front three again that beat Norwich 4-0. Fornals on the left-hand side, Mikel Antonio up on his own, and Jared Bowen on the right-hand side. If we're going to get any points from tomorrow evening's game against Watford, how the front three play are going to play a very important part into how we get those 3 points. Starting off with Fornals. Fornals is not your natural wide player. He's not going to be beating the opposition fullback for pace, putting a cross inside the box. But however, if you look to the first goal we scored against Newcastle, Fornals likes to drift inside. He likes to get in between the midfield and the defence, those half spaces, because they're very difficult to mark and defend. And for what Fornals do, as I was saying, he'll drift inside, he'll receive the ball, and then he played a nice little through ball to Bowen, who then played it back to Antonio to make it 1-0. And that is like the phases of play we have come to expect of those front three. And the last couple of weeks, Norwich, Chelsea and Newcastle, we've actually been scoring quite a few goals. 3 against Chelsea, 2 against Newcastle, and of course 4 against Norwich. So at the moment, attacking and scoring goals isn't a problem. It's just trying to keep them out at the other end. Now, probably the 2 most important players in West Ham's attacking play right now, and that is Jared Bowen and Antonio. But we're going to start off with Bowen. Bowen likes to make those inside runs, the runs that Salah and Mane like to make. They start off out wide, so the fullbacks are marking them, and then what they do, they run diagonally in between the defender, the centre back, and that fullback, and it makes them very difficult to pick up. And you've only got to look at the goal that Jared Bowen scored against Southampton. He starts off out wide. Fornals has got the ball, and then suddenly he makes that darting run in between the defender, and the defenders don't expect it. On his blind side, he nips around the defender, and he scores with a delightful dink. And if Fornals can continue making those runs, Antonio running the channels, which is very important. Antonio's got a huge job at the weekend. Watford's defenders, apart from maybe Kabasele, they are generally stiff. They don't really like to be dragged out into wide positions because of the lack of pace. And if Antonio can do that, it will allow space for players like Jared Bowen, players like Sukek, who could possibly run into that space and fill that void when a pass comes in or a cross comes in. They can get on the end of it and score. So guys, that is going to be the end of the video. How I believe West Ham will beat Watford. And if you're new around here, please hit that like button and consider subscribing, as that will generally help me. And I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.